I'm so delighted to introduce this very remarkable Scotsman to you. He is the retail director of John Lewis department store operating throughout Great Britain. The very first store on Oxford Street opened in 1864, 150 years ago. Now there are 43 stores and more than 30% of the John Lewis sales take place online.
He's going to hate this description because he told me backstage, but Andrew Murphy is responsible for the operation, customer experience, performance, and profitability at John Lewis. But that's not all. He's also responsible for the head office functions of selling operations, food service, operational development, and business continuity and risk.
Mr. Murphy holds an MA degree in politics from the University of Aberdeen, and among his interests you'll find football, chess, and reading. A big hand for Andrew Murphy.
And I say it's all right. Little darling, it's been a long.
Welcome, Mr. Murphy.
Good morning.
You worked for John Lewis since 1992.
Yes, that's right.
That's a very long time. Why is John Lewis such a good employer?
Because it's always changing, it's always developing. 150 years, but it's we've got an internal motto: always there, but never standing still. And it's always been an exciting place to work.
Yeah, impressive.
Okay, so you actually became the youngest member of the John Lewis board, that's right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you remember the first time you talked about creating some kind of omni-channel solution for John Lewis?
We started talking about multi-channel back in 1999, and by about 2008, we'd started to talk about omni-channel.
Okay.
And we think the difference is primarily multi-channel. We had 2 or 3 channels and we optimized them. Omni-channel was recognizing that as far as the customer was concerned, there was really only one thing.
Okay.
And that's what they wanted from us.
So what did you think of our definition earlier? Was it okay?
Better than Google's. better than
Okay.
Google's.
We're super excited to listen to you, so the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. So John Lewis is a 150-year-old business. Founded in 1864. We're a co-owned business owned by the employees of the company. There are 90,000 people work in John Lewis, around 60,000 in Waitrose supermarkets, and around 30,000 in the department stores. And retail's changed a lot since 1864. The photo on the left-hand side of the screen is our Oxford Street shop. It's actually not 1864, it's more like 1910. And we've had a presence in the same site on Oxford Street for all of those 150 years. And just shortly before we hit the 140-year mark, we bought, out of the first dot-com boom and bust, we bought a business called Buy.com. Buy.com, like many, had grown fast and died pretty quickly. And we bought their platform and we brought over some of their talent. And from there, what you see on the right, which is johnlewis.com, was born. Johnlewis.com was one of the first fully transactional websites for any existing legacy retailer in the UK. And brings us to today, where we have the 29,000 employees, a turnover of £4 billion sterling. And that's 42 shops and 1 website. With the website now accounting, certainly this Christmas, it will be up to about 33, 34% of those sales. That's how the sales grew for johnlewis.com. Before 2004, they wouldn't really have featured on the graph at all. And when we bought Buy.com, and when that decision was taken by our board of directors, it had to be taken twice, because the first time they said no. They said, why are you selling something in a market that has just crashed? And Charlie Mayfield, who's our chairman now, basically presented it to them as an insurance policy. It cost us roughly the same to buy as it did for us to build one of our shops back at that time. And his perspective was that if nothing became of this online thing, if e-commerce never took off, then we hadn't spent enough money to cause the company a terrible problem. However, if it did take off, then we were insured against becoming irrelevant in the eyes of our customer. And of course, what happened was the latter. So what you can see here in the orange bar are the johnlewis.com sales, which topped out at just over £1.1 billion last year. But what I think is more relevant about this graph is that the blue line where that 2010 peak you can see there, that's at about +8%. The blue line are the sales from our shops over the same period on a like-for-like basis. So what, if anything, makes John Lewis remarkable isn't that we've got a big website that people seem to like. It's not even that we're a legacy business that's managed to do that despite all the horrendous challenges of integrating the technologies. It's actually the fact that we found a way to make our online experience entirely incremental and additive to what we're doing in our shops. Because most businesses that have tried to go down the road that we've gone down have discovered that their shop sales go into pretty much permanent decline. And the economics of that for a retailer that's maintaining physical locations are genuinely very, very difficult. Along the way, it's a story of our website becoming progressively more omni-channel rather than pure play as a channel within a multi-channel business. And that really started properly in 2006, where we launched Click and Collect. Now, I assume the majority of you understand what Click and Collect is, but just in case some don't, that's just a facility to order your product online, but rather than having it delivered to your home, usually in the UK, between 2 to 5 day window, it's the ability to have it delivered to one of our shops within 24 hours. And we launched that in 2006, not thinking terribly much about it, if I'm completely honest. And within 12 months, it was the fastest growing part of our business. We're now at a stage where Click and Collect orders account for around 40% of all online orders. And it's still a channel that's growing in double digits every year. At that time, though, we were still actually selling from a different product file and with different pricing online. Looking around the room, there are not many of you who are old enough to remember the fact, but that when online e-commerce initially emerged in the West, it was seen as a discount channel. It was seen as a channel that was not really about convenience so much as it was actually about getting your product at a better price. No doubt largely influenced by what Amazon were doing at the time. And in 2007, we brought together the product file and the pricing. And so basically you were buying exactly the same product at exactly the same price. We were simply offering you two different ways to view, to browse, and to buy the product. More up to date, in 2011, we launched our app, which the advantage of the app is quite simply that when you transact through the app as a customer, we make more money because we haven't had to pay for the acquisition, usually through Google, of that customer. We also launched what we call Omnimetrics, which is that for the first time from 2011, the 23,000 people that work for me in our department stores were all being performance measured and rewarded based on KPIs, on key performance indicators, that were as much about online performance in their geography as they were about things that were happening in the physical store. And then, more technically, last year, we finally, after 12 glorious years on the buy.com platform, we finally, and rather painfully, re-platformed onto ATG9, which we managed, touch wood, without annoying our customers too much and without losing any custom. But doing that as a big business, as a complicated business with legacy IT, was scary stuff and not something that I'd want to do every year. So this world is awash with jargon, and even now, talking about omni-channel, I sometimes feel slightly self-conscious because people who are not in the industry really just think you're making up words for the sake of it. But I think it is quite important to be distinct in your thinking about multi-channel, which is having more than one way to reach the customer and wanting, obviously, to optimize all of them. And an example I would give you of that is Nordstrom in the US. Nordstrom are probably, I think, in terms of scale, retail businesses, the most advanced multi-channel business in the world. But they are not omni-channel, because the geography of the US and their physical coverage means that the opportunity to really bring together the two channels, the physical space and the online together, is not as commercially advantageous as it is in a small country like the UK. And so in John Lewis, we say we're omni-channel. And the key point about omni-channel is that it beats pure play. And that's been our position now for 7 years as we stared into the massive competitive threat to all physical retailers that is represented by Amazon. We had a year of introspection about whether or not we were a physical channel business in a long process of becoming an online business. And we decided that we weren't. We were a physical business that was becoming omni-channel, because in the long term, omni-channel will beat pure play. And the reason we think it will beat pure play is because human beings are social. It's the reason that all of you are in the room today, because sometimes contact through the screen isn't enough, because there's something else that happens when people are sharing an experience in the same place. Whether it's a form of validation, whether it's a social exchange, whether it's just that feeling of community. And so that's why in the last 10 years, we've started building into our shops things that are not necessarily going to pay back in and of themselves in that space. But they're building our new insurance policy, which is ensuring that in 10 years' time, people will still want to come to our department stores because they will experience something there that they cannot experience online. And while we're building this omni-channel model, really what we're seeing from customers is that they expect seamless, low-friction experience. So what does that mean? Seamless means that, and it's genuinely very difficult to do, customers understand that John Lewis is an old business that's been around for a long time, and they want all the good stuff they're used to from John Lewis through the shops, but they want all the online stuff, and they want it to be as easy and as good as the youngest pure play that hasn't had to contend with any of these legacy issues. So when you can be as slick and reliable as Amazon, and that's who we're competing with online, but you've also got to run everything that you ran before and make the connection between those two things really easy for the customer to navigate. That's the challenge, and that's what customers expect. And so success in omni-channel, more than anything else in terms of the customer, it's about allowing them to navigate the entirety of your brand offer, whether in a physical space or online, and to swap between the two. And we now see that a very high percentage of our customers within a single shopping mission do both of those things. So this paradigm of I'm a shop customer, I'm going to go to the shop, I'm going to do everything in the shop, I'm going to get my purchase, I'm going to go home. Or I'm a different person, I'm an online customer, I don't go to the shops, I do everything from my study or my spare bedroom. That exists less and less. It's a very small proportion. Much more now, there are people who within the same shopping mission, the same day, certainly in the course of their shopping in a year, are actually bouncing around between the channels, in and out, from desktop, from mobile, physically in the shop, on the phone to our contact centres. So what you can see in the pictures there, in the top left, what you've got is one of the click and collect collections that our customers are taking home, and we've had to invest an awful lot of money in both that fulfillment solution, but also in the physical environment where that is done. In an average John Lewis store, there would be around 250 collections every day. And if you can think about what it takes to store those 250 products and have that refreshed every day, that's become quite a big operation within our business. At the same time, we're still delivering, and in the UK, we're unusual in that we maintain a huge delivery fleet of our own for what we call two-man delivery product. In other words, anything that's physically large, and that's a premium service, but nonetheless, it's free, providing you spend more than £50 in the transaction. Down on the left is one of our new initiatives that we've launched, which is the ability to book all of your appointments with John Lewis advisors, whether that's an interior design advisor, whether that's a fashion advisor to put together an outfit for you, whether it's somebody to come and hang your curtains or to install your television. You can book all of that online now and physically reference it to your local store and sort all your details out. And then when you go into the store, the guys in the store have all that information as well. They can navigate that for you, or if you phone the contact center, they can see that as well. They have the same information. That sounds probably quite mundane and dull, but for a legacy business, creating those connections in the back end of your IT infrastructure, that is the killer issue. And so many businesses would like to be able to go faster down this road. And what prevents them from doing so, and what represents the major risk between an omni business like us and an online pure play like Amazon, is they write the code, they're building it on something that's no more than 10 years old, and they've got most of the human resource in their organization specializing and focusing on that. IT is just one small part of the John Lewis organization. We've got some infrastructure that still is from about 1968, believe it or not, and we've got lots of areas of our technology where we only have one human being left who actually understands the code. And we have to bracket into all of that and produce a front end for the customer that really works and really makes sense. And happy returns is a killer part of our customer offer. Because one of the things that took people on the online journey was taking away the barriers in their mind to online commerce. One of them was about security. One of them was just about reliability of actually getting the product when they thought they would. But then it emerged into, am I going to be able to return this? And for a pure play, this remains still quite a big issue, and obviously it's a major battleground for a lot of pure play retailers, is to optimize their returns and to make them as frictionless as possible. And for us, that's not just about the process, it's also about the guarantee. And so we have the longest established no quibble return and refund proposition in UK retail, and we believe that's one of the cornerstones of our success. Omnichannel transactions have increased every year. You can see the click and collect on the left there, and also kiosk transactions where somebody's basically ordering from our online channel, but they're doing it in the physical kiosk installation in the store. If I was here in 2 years' time, you wouldn't see the graph on the right because there's no need to have kiosks when everybody's going to have the same functionality via our website in the phone that's in their pocket. And our customers clearly want to shop in this omni-channel way. So just some stats for you. 26% of our John Lewis shoppers buy at johnlewis.com, generating 33% of our total turnover. So what you can see there is that the average spend online is higher. 42% of that traffic now is from mobile. And that is not just a casual throwaway stat. As many of you probably know, conversion from mobile is much, much lower than conversion from PC. And in terms of the cost of running the business, that begins to make a big difference in terms of how much you're paying for each sale. 50% of johnlewis.com orders are filled through click and collect. That's by value. It's slightly lower than that in terms of volume. And 65% of John Lewis customers browse both channels, and our mission is to make that 100%, with ultimately 100% transacting. All of that combines to give us a net promoter score, which is our customer satisfaction metric, of 65, which is, interestingly, just about 1 point higher than Amazon, and is the leading customer satisfaction score in UK retail. In the future, we think 80% of customer growth for us is going to come from omni-channel. So in the orange, you can see the online customer growth, which is not really material in terms of online only, and equally down on shop only, very little growth in that number. But material growth in omni-channel with a whole generation coming up who will want to, and in some cases only know, to use both channels. And that's good in one sense because converting customers to be omni is attractive in sales terms. So what you can see here is one of the most profound insights that we've had on omni-channel in the last 5 years, and it was really a proof point for us about omni-channel over pure play, or as some have done, turning our back on online, which was that initially we felt that online sales were cannibalizing our shop sales, and we worried a lot about that. And then what we find when we got our insight guys really focused in on individual customer behavior and we scaled it up, was that what happened when people became omni-channel was not only did their total spend increase, but their spend in both channels individually increased. And if you just think about that, what that means in terms of driving value from individual customers, that's pretty profound. So what we get is a model like this, that actually your 2 + 2 = 5, and the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Shops for us are about inspiration, about demonstration, they're about human service, partner-delivered service, and they're about purchase immediacy if you're in the store. They're also where our brand becomes a physical living thing. But online, you have the extended range opportunity, you have convenience, you have the visibility of the customer because obviously it's a data-rich environment, and that's great for remarketing, and it gives you CRM possibilities. But what we're discovering about success in Omni is that there are benefits in frequency, in retention and loyalty, particularly in retention and loyalty. We see customers much more sticky to our brand now and much more frequent shoppers as a result of being omni-channel. Consequently, our share of their wallet increases, and we think we have a great customer experience differentiator versus pure play. But if it was just that good, then everybody would be doing it, and the fact is it's difficult. It's difficult and it's expensive. I've mentioned that it's very challenging to build on your legacy IT. Initially, it can be tough to get your shop employees to feel great about working for everything that they ever did, plus this new channel that captures sales that they feel initially could be coming to them. It is negative at an operating margin level because everything that you're doing today, you have to keep doing, and you have to add this whole load of other stuff that the customer now expects. And so you can't expect to translate your increased sales to margin at the same level, at the same rate that you previously did. And it is genuinely hard. We're considered to be one of the top service providers in UK B2C business, and we've got a huge reputation to lose there. And it's genuinely hard every day a battle to maintain our historic standards of service delivery when we're now having to do that across multiple more touch points than we did before, many of which we're much less experienced in than we are in the core part of our retail business. As to the future, we've just opened our latest shop, which we call Click and Commute, which is at St Pancras railway station in London, which is the Eurostar terminal as well. And that is the smallest shop that we have. It's only 2,000 square feet, and it has an extra 800 square feet devoted purely to click and collect. And the idea being that if you can't economically justify building a shop and being omni-channel in every town in the UK where your customers live, what you can perhaps do is find these node points where thousands of them congregate at certain points in every day, and perhaps you can meet their needs that way and acquire greater frequency and new customers. It's very early days, it's only been open for 3 weeks, but so far we're really excited about the results of that. We're also going to enable the customer app for selling assistance, and there's a lot of practical benefits for that, but one of the main ones is we want to capture browse behavior of customers in store. Because obviously I mentioned data-rich environment online, you can tweak and pool and A/B test to your heart's content with various propositions online. It's much more expensive and much more time-consuming to do that in the physical environment. But if we can capture what a customer's browse behavior is by arming our employees with an app that allows them to chart that as they go through the options and record it, then we think we can play that back into an optimized in-store experience and drive conversion. And I mentioned earlier on that we're always there and never standing still. And this year we ran our first ever tech incubator, which we called JLab. And we have just announced the winner of that as a company called Locals, who are an iBeacon developer, and a second place company, Tap to Connect, who are an information management company. And we hope to be running new and exciting developments with them in the next couple of years. But that's also our first step into corporate venture capitalism as well. And what's, I think, critical about that is we recognize that in the John Lewis boardroom, we might have a few good ideas, but there's no way we're going to have the monopoly on good ideas. And we're unlikely to have the very best market-defining ideas. So we need to be investing and involved with people like yourself, young, beautiful, attractive people with lots of great ideas. And that's where the future is for us. So I'm overrunning now, and that's it from me. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Karsten, should we start? See if we have any questions on
There's
Twitter.
a couple of questions, quite a lot of questions from Twitter. Great guys, love it. First one from Fredrik Norberg at Fyndiq. He asked, the 42% traffic from mobile, is that including tablets or is that separate?
That does include
And do you have a separate strategy for mobile as well, just only mobile?
We do have an evolving strategy, but if I'm very honest, we're not going very fast on it because it's not clear to us what the hardware development path for the major brands is going to be. And it would be one of the killer issues here is it's so easy to go fast because you think you know where the future is, and then 2 years down the line you discover that nobody has phones that are that size anymore. They're all phablets, and you've wasted your time.
Can you give any estimate of the 42%? Like how much of that could be tablets? How much of that is pure mobile?
Up until last year, it was just over 50% mobile, which was probably more to do with just the preponderance of mobiles relative to the number of tablets. But as tablets become bigger and bigger, I think that's going to bias towards tablets.
Another question from Gulnas is, you mentioned happy returns. To make returns as easy and as seamless as possible for the customers, how does it affect the return costs?
Well, if you just isolate returns as a cost, then initially when we switched on, the policy was always there, but we really amplified it. And when we did that, there was no doubt that for 12 months we saw a spike. But what we also saw at the same time was an increase in customer numbers and an increase in frequency. And if you did those maths, it more than paid for itself. And we consider it to be part of our marketing budget, effectively.
Ina, something has happened on the
Yes.
Mentimeter.
Hey, you guys.
We would like to ask the audience what their biggest challenge is when working with multiple channels. And I see that a lot of people already started, so the rest of you, I hope you just join in. The same code, 725279.
Okay, so now Andrew, we want to ask you, since I mean a lot of people have already answered, so we want to ask you, what do you think about this? How would you solve this problem?
So I agree. The technical jigsaw puzzle is once you've engaged your customers, that is the biggest problem. More so, the older you are, the more legacy stuff you've got hanging around. I think, though, in the next few years, that will begin to simplify itself as smarter, particularly software as a service solutions start to emerge more. And just recently been in San Francisco at Salesforce, the Dreamforce convention, who are one of the world's biggest software as a service providers. And I think they're going to be able to create a much cleaner way through the technical spaghetti that exists inside most organizations. So I'd be optimistic about that one.
One last question. Can you say something about how John Lewis is preparing for the Christmas rush?
Well, the thing about the Christmas rush is, in the UK at least, it's no longer just the Christmas rush, it's the Black Friday peak. So we now have two peaks, which is not helpful. So we have a Black Friday peak, and then a little drop off, and then the Christmas peak. So if I'm really honest, this year, all our energies are focused on how we manage that in a great way for the customer, but also without being horrendously inefficient about having to prepare for those two spikes. But my one piece of advice to everybody is get the connections between your channels as slick as you possibly can, and that keeps the customer happy.
I know you're a busy man, so on behalf of the conference and the audience, we want to say so much thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone give him a round of applause.